Hello, and welcome to our data overview. This is the data overview for Creekview High School's Social Studies Department, presented by Morgan Green. I am an AP US History teacher and an Honors US and World Affairs teacher. The purpose of this overview is to review the demographics and enrollment of the students for the past 3 years compared to the district and state. In this presentation, we're going to review U.S. History and Economics End of Course Test, or EOC, results from the school compared to district and state scores. We are also going to identify strengths and areas of improvement in the data from U.S. History and Economics EOC test. We are then going to describe possible action steps to address these issues. While going through this presentation, you need to consider what are some current strengths that the data is presenting, what are areas of weaknesses for the data, and what modifications and adjustments that teachers can make in their classroom to improve their scores. How can the Social Studies Department effectively use short-term data to evaluate progress on an ongoing basis? These are all things that you should be thinking about as we move through this presentation. To begin, we're going to look at an overview of the school, the CCRP levels, or scores, Creekview's demographic profile, and the demographics of the teachers. Here is the College and Career Ready Performance Index, the CCRP. This index is going to show you how schools are performing at the state, district, and school levels. In these scores, it's going to help show accountability and readiness that the students are walking away with after they leave high school. And it's going to give you a level that you can compare across all 3 levels. As you can see in this chart, you can see how Creekview scores are above the average that the district and state levels have. They're at 88.7 in 2017, and compared to the district, they're just a little bit higher by about 2 points, and then definitely higher than the state level. So this chart just gives you an idea of how Creekview is performing overall and compared to the district and state levels. Now we're going to go into Creekview High School's student breakdown. We're first going to look at the percentage of enrollment by race and other subgroups. And you can see here that we have 16% of students that are eligible for free and reduced lunches in the 2015-2016 school year. You can also see that students with disability has declined from 2014 to 2015-2016 school year. And the majority of students in Creekview High School are white as their race, and followed by Hispanic, and then followed by Black and multiracial. This is a look at Creekview's attendance as a whole. You can see here our attendance is fairly well off and pretty average and consistent across the 3 years that are being observed here. About 60% of students miss 5 or fewer days, which is great for teachers in the classroom. It's going to help them with their instructional time and in keeping that instructional time that is so valuable and critical, and it's going to play a factor in how students perform on these EOC testings. Now these are our attendance subgroups, so looking at each group individually. Again, overall, we do not seem to have a huge attendance issue when you're looking at the attendance subgroups here based off of economically disadvantaged, female, male, limited English proficiency, migrant, not economically disadvantaged, students with disability, students without disability. And when you're looking at attendance based off race and ethnicity, you still do not see a huge attendance problem of students missing more than 5 days or more than 15 days absent. So this is an excellent report for Creekview and having students optimizing their seat time. Like I mentioned earlier, most of students' population, 87% of the population are white, 7% Hispanic, 3% Black, and then 3% other. The graduation rate at Creekview High School is the highest in the county, which has greatly increased. As you can see here on the right-hand side, Creekview's graduation rate has went up from 84% in 2016 all the way up to 94.7% in 2017, which is a huge increase. It's the highest in our district. And you can see that we are surpassing the district and Georgia's graduation rate for the class of 2017. And you can see over time how Creekview and the district has continued to improve their graduation rate over the past 4 years. Now the faculty breakdown, we're going to go into that segment. At Creekview High School. The majority of Creekview's faculty is white, and that's leading with 94%, 3% being Hispanic, 1% Asian, 1% Native American, and then 1% other. The male to female ratio is 56% female and 44% male. The number of years experience by Creekview's teachers, majority having 11 to 20 years of experience, and next would be 1 to 10 years of experience. There are 128 faculty members at Creekview High School, and the majority of Creekview's teachers hold a bachelor's degree, followed by a master's degree at 35%, and then a smaller population has a specialist degree at 16% and 5% with a doctorate degree. Now, for our data overview, we're specifically looking at the social studies content areas that the Georgia Milestone End of Course Test has in their content areas of economics and US history. Now, for those of you who don't know what an EOC test is, these are designed to provide information about how well students are mastering state-adopted content standards. This serves as the final exam of the course and contributes to 20% of the final course grade. Now, for the US History EOC, this is taken in May or April of the spring semester. And for the Economics EOC, this is taken at the end of the course, which these are semester courses, and that is taken in December and for the fall semester courses, and then again in April and May for the spring semester courses. But what these scores give students is information about their achievement and readiness for their next level of learning. So if they're in US history, the very next year they'll take econ, and so that'll give them an indication of how well they will perform during that course. Students it also shows student achievement in important content to use in determining a change agent for the quality of educational opportunity provided through the state of Georgia. This is an example so you can see what the scale and grade conversion score is for the achievement levels on the EOC. So for US history, you can see the different levels, beginner, for US history and economics, beginner, developing, proficient, and distinguished. And so this is just the scale, and when we're looking through the scores, this is the scale in which we are using to compare data. Now the scaled scores are the ones in the left column, and then the grade conversion scores are in the right column under each level. Now, we're first going to start talking about the US History EOC, and this is from the 2015, 2016, 2017 school year. And you can see as our district and our school is growing, there has been a huge increase in the number of students taking the exam each year. And so from 2015 to 2017, if we're looking at Creekview score, which is in the blue, it goes up almost 100 students over a 3-year time period. And the same goes for the district. It goes up significantly over the past 3 years. Our district is growing, and our school specifically is growing exponentially, and so this is going to contribute to the amount of students that are taking the EOCs in US history. And students who are taking the US history EOCs are typically 11th graders or juniors in high school. Now we're going to look at the US History EOC scores from 2015 right now. And so you can see the percentage of students who are developing, proficient, distinguished, and beginner. And in these scores, you're able to tell that Creekview overall has a good percentage or a high percentage of students performing at proficiency and above proficiency when compared to the district and state levels. However, it is low in 2015, but as we go 2016, you can see the shift and the proficiency and how Creekview starts to pull ahead in the proficiency category compared to the district and definitely compared to the state. As we move into 2017, Creekview continues to grow and improve in their scores and gain more and more students on the proficient and distinguished side. This is the percentage of students who are proficient and above in US history and EOCs at Creekview. So again, just taking the data we just looked at and putting it on a line graph for you. And you can see how Creekview has improved their scores, and this is attributed to the PLC groups that we have been implementing inside of our school, which has allowed US history teachers to come together, collect data, and work on student achievement inside the classroom and having directly impacting our instruction that is taking place in the classroom. And you can see compared to the district and state levels, Creekview is doing an excellent job in this category. Overall, Creekview's performance is higher than 89% of schools in the state, and it's higher than it is in its district. And you can see here comparatively the milestone EOC scores and their beginning, proficient, development, and distinguished levels. So again, another chart to show you how well Creekview High School is doing compared to the state and district levels. Now we're going to talk about the Economics EOC, and just like I mentioned with the US History EOC, Economics is growing and improving their scores, and you can see in this one, as the district and school grows, the number of students taking Economics also grows. This class is specifically for seniors, and they take it their 12th grade year. And this is a required course, just like the US History is to graduate. These are the percentage of students who are proficient and above in economics. Now, you can see here that we had a sharp increase from 2015 to 2016. However, there has been a decrease in 2017 scores from 2016 scores, and that may be attributed to the fact that the EOC test changed with the new standards that were sent out, and the 2017 scores are reflecting that score. This is another look at the statewide longitudinal data systems of the EOC test, and you can see how Creekview still is above the district and state levels, which is great. However, compared to 2016 and 2017, their scores did drop just a little, as we saw on the chart previously. This is the 2017 EOC Scaled Scores, looking at Creekview High School there at the bottom. This is the median score at the school, system, and state level, and this includes US History and Economics is what we are looking at. Now these are the CCRP performance flags of 2017, and this is going to show, we're going to specifically look at US History and Economics, which is going to show us how our subgroup populations are performing. And you can see here how in US History, the Hispanic population is a subgroup that met the participation rate and subgroup performance target, but not the state performance target. So this is an area of improvement that US History needs to consider. However, we've seen how the US History scores are higher than the state and district levels, but you can see here that this is an area in which US History needs to work on improving. The same goes for students with disability. These are the two areas in which US History needs to improve on. When we go to look at economics, economics needs to improve their students with disability subgroup, but it's interesting to see that despite the Hispanic population not meeting the state performance target in US History, they do meet in economics. So that is interesting to see, and will be something that we need to look into as we go forward. So when you're looking at this data that we just went through, did anything surprise you about it? What can we infer about the data analysis? How can we assist the students in the subpopulation groups? And what type of plan needs to be formulated for students who are frequently absent, or students with disabilities? Strengths, the graduation rate has greatly increased from 2015-2016 school year to the 2016-2017 school year. The economic scores rose from 59% to 61% from 2016 to 2017. And Creekview scores are the highest for US History and Economics EOCs when compared to the district and state scores. This is excellent information for Creekview's teachers and seeing what they're really strong at. The areas of improvement are with the subpopulation group scores. Students with disability, that would include US History and Economics EOCs, and then US History specifically, that would include our Hispanic subpopulation. Some action steps that we can take to help improve these scores for students with disabilities: we need to consider what other techniques and strategies that other schools in the district and state are doing to improve these scores. We can also look at other teachers who are helping these students out to improve their scores. For US History, it would be beneficial to discuss strategies with economic teachers at Creekview to see what methods they use to assist the subpopulation, considering they have improved and met their proficiency in those scores compared to US History. How can we continue to increase our social studies EOC scores each school year? How can we shorten the achievement gap for our Hispanic and students with disability population? These are just some questions to consider for our next steps and what we're going to do to help out and improve our scores as we continue. How can we use short-term goals to lead to and develop long-term goals that we set for our teachers to improve student achievement? What strategies can we implement? And how can we best utilize classroom data to inform instruction, to differentiate, remediate, and enrich the learning process? So for our social studies department, we need to review the data that was presented, develop a plan with short-term and long-term goals on how you're going to assess student achievement through the course to inform instruction, develop a system in which the data will be reviewed and discussed during your PLC meetings, allow for teachers to share ideas, techniques, strategies that they use because you can learn from each other, create instructional tools list for economic and US history teachers to reference and use in their classroom, and lastly, consider trainings for US history and economic teachers to reach the subpopulation groups. This has been an overview of the Social Studies Department EOC test in the subjects of Econ and US history. And moving forward, this is going to give us an opportunity to grow and improve our learning and our teaching of these groups. So enjoy and take a look at this data so that you can continue to grow and develop these students. Thanks.